Let us start our new session with the new topic, temperature dependence of resistivity. As we have discussed in our earlier topic, in which the resistance is depending on the temperature. For the metal, that resistivity of temperature is positive coefficient. It means temperature is increases, its resistivity is increases. But with the semiconductor devices, if the temperature is increases, its resistivity is reduces. This is how we are going to understand in detail. As material is dependent on the temperature, their resistivity is also depending on the temperature. So here the resistivity depending on the temperature we can define with the example rho of T. Rho is a resistivity depending on the temperature equal to rho 0 into 1 plus alpha T minus T0. Rho 0 is the initial resistivity at temperature T0. Alpha is temperature coefficient as we have already observed in resistivity table, and its unit is temperature inverse. For the metal, alpha is positive because resistivity is increases of the metal if temperature is increases. And generally T0 is taken as a 0 degree Celsius. So T0 is 0. According to that, whatever the initial resistivity is available, which is considered as a rho 0. Now, if we plot the graph of rho against the temperature for the copper material, it starts with the 0 degree. So, we can say that at a much lower temperature than a 0 degree, that line of the temperature dependency is deviates from the straight line. So we can say that by observing this graph, temperature dependency for the resistivity is not linear. Wherever the temperature is increases for the copper material, your resistivity is not linear, not straight line. It chosen as a parabola. It means that is depending on the square term. We can say like this, like a parabola. So this equation can be used approximately over a limited range of the T, that is around any reference temperature T0. This graph is shown in the Kelvin and we have defined for the Celsius. So it means 0 degrees Celsius is 237 Kelvin. So below that point, that dependency of the copper is not linear. It deviates from the straight line. We can say like this. Okay. Now another temperature dependency we are observing, that is for the nichrome. In this graph, temperature versus resistivity of the nichrome is defined, and in which that is in Kelvin. It is started around from the 200 Kelvin. So we can say that around that room temperature, that nichrome temperature dependency is very weak. Right? It is not as a linear, but we can say as the temperature is increases, its resistivity is not much affected. It is between around 1.1 to between 1.2. It means temperature dependency is less. So nichrome material is less dependent on the temperature. It is not much affected. Now, as that's why generally for just like an alloy, that is a nichrome, or which is alloy material is nickel, iron or chromium, or another material with the similar property we are using as a manganese and tungsten. These materials generally we are using for wire bound resistors, as we have studied earlier. And here also we observe that these alloy materials are less dependent on the temperature variation, and that's why this material we are using to design a resistor. and with that we can design a wire bound resistor. Now with the third graph, we are focusing for the semiconductor material. As the temperature is increases, resistivity is reduces with the parabola graph, right? So here we can say that resistivity is 1 upon conductivity. So that equation, as we have derived earlier, that is m upon n square tau. So by observing this equation, we can say that tau is depending inversely with the number of electrons per unit volume and average collision time. So as we increase the temperature, average speed of electrons which carry the current is increases. Obviously, as the temperature is increases, they are having a more acceleration force and their speed is increases. So they in more frequent they collide with the ions. So their average collision time is also reduces. So this is what the effect of the temperature we have. But in metal, number of electrons is not dependent on temperature, because whatever the electrons in the metals are already free with the large amount. So now no more electrons can be generated due to the higher temperature. So number of electrons are not dependent on the temperature, and thus their collision time tau is decreases as the temperature is increases, and so the resistivity increases as the temperature is increases. So we can say that for insulators and semiconductors, number of electrons n increases with the temperature. This increases more than compensate the decrease in tau, right? Collision repetition time, the frequency is increases, so that tau is reduces, right? So that for such materials rho is decreases with the temperature. Let us focus on the example regarding this. An electric toaster uses a nichrome for its heating element. When a negligible small current passes through it, its resistance at room temperature 27 degrees Celsius is found to be 75.3 ohm. Right? What it shows over here, at room temperature, resistance is 75.3 of what? Of toaster, which is designed using nichrome material. When a negligible current is passing at the room temperature, resistance is 75.3. When the toaster is connected to the supply, 230 volt supply, the current settles after a few seconds to a steady value 2.68 ampere. So when supply is connected, after a few seconds, now current is become 2.68 ampere, and which becomes steady. So what is the steady temperature of nichrome element? We need to find out its temperature. The temperature coefficient of resistance of nichrome average over a temperature range is 1.7 into 10 raised to minus 4 per centimeter. So here temperature coefficient of nichrome alpha is given. So initially, when a current through the element that is very small, heating effects can be ignored, and that initial temperature and another temperature is T1 we are defined. Initially is T0. Now another temperature T1, that is a room temperature, is then. Steady state current we have 2.68 ampere, but due to the heating effect of the current, temperature will rise. This will cause an increase in resistance and decrease in the current. As the temperature is increases, resistance is increases, so current is reduces by a small amount. But after few seconds, steady state will be reached when temperature will rise no further. What it shows, the toaster is there. Whenever we are giving the plug and start to give this 230 volt supply, initially start to get heated, temperature is start to increase, and as temperature starts to increase, what will happen? resistance increases, current slightly reduces. But as now that temperature becomes steady after the highest point, so the current becomes steady and no variation of the resistance and current we have. So that is R2 and T2. These notations we have observed. So with that, we can say that R2 is nothing but supply voltage is R equals to V by I. Supply voltage is given 230 volt and the current is 2.68 ampere. So that resistance is 85.8 ohm. Now the resistivity relation we have rho T equal to rho 0 1 plus alpha T minus T0. Instead of the rho we can define the resistance R. So R2 equal to R1 1 plus alpha T2 minus T1. Alpha is already given 1.7 into 10 raised to minus 4 per degree Celsius. So make the subject of formula T2 minus T1. So we have R2 minus R1 upon R1 alpha. So R2 is, we have calculated 85.8, R1 is given 75.3. Replace these values. So we have the temperature difference 820 degrees Celsius. Now T2 minus T1 is 820 degrees Celsius. What is T1? Room temperature. So T2 is 820 plus 27 is 847 degrees Celsius. So with that temperature, heating elements is constant. So now no further current variation or heat loss is available surrounding it. It's a steady current temperature value is available. Next example is the resistance of the platinum wire of a platinum resistance thermometer at ice point is 50. Ice point matlab temperature is 0 degree. At that time the resistance is 5 ohm of the platinum wire. At a steam point matlab at 100 degrees Celsius the resistance is 5.39 ohm. So we can see that temperature is varying from 0 to 100, but platinum wire has the resistance whose value is varying with the very less 5 ohm to 5.39 ohm. When the thermometer is inserted in a hot bath, the resistance of the platinum wire is 5.795 ohm. So that at the bath temperature, hot bath temperature, 5.795 ohm. So we need to calculate that hot bath temperature. So what is the equation? RT equals to R0 1 plus alpha T2 minus T1. Right? So we need to calculate the T. So for that T, the difference, we can say here the alpha is not given. So with that respect, can we take with the percentage wise value RT minus R0 upon R100 minus R0 into 100, right? So that is RT is 5.795 minus R05 upon 5.23 minus 5 into 100. So that ratio we have 345.65 degrees Celsius. This is what the temperature of hot bath is given. At that time the resistance is 5.795 ohm is available. Now let us go through the another topic, electrical energy, power. Now what will happen? We have the conductor whose end points A and B, and as current is flowing from A to B, current is only can be flow when the potential difference is available. So we can say that potential at point A is V of A, potential at point B is V of B. Current is flowing through A to B means higher to lower. It means we can say that potential difference VA minus VB is greater than 0, then only the current is flowing from A to B. Why potential is higher and the current flowing in that direction? Because charge carriers are moving in opposite direction. So charge carriers try to become balanced. They move from higher to lower. So current is moving from A to B. In a time interval delta t, for example, delta q charge is moving. I equals to q by t. So q equals to I into t. So delta q equals to I into delta t. That amount of charges can be moved from A to B. So the potential energy at point A is q into V, V of A, and at the point B, q into VB. So the potential energy difference is final potential energy minus initial. So delta Q VB minus VA, that is minus delta QV, means minus IV delta T, which is less than 0. So if charge is moving without collision through a conductor, their kinetic energy would also change so that their total energy is not going to be changed. Why? If kinetic energy, potential energy is available, if kinetic energy is available, kinetic energy when it is available, when they lost, charge carriers lost potential energy, they start to get the kinetic energy. So ultimately the total effect is not going to be changed. So total energy of the charge is not going to be changed if kinetic energy is available. So this conservation of total energy is defined by delta K is minus delta U, that is a potential energy. And that total energy is always positive, that is IV delta T. Clear? I repeat, charge carriers are moving from A to B. Means charge carriers are moving from higher potential to lower inertia and they try to become balanced. So if initially they reach at that point, at point A, my potential energy QVA, at point B, QVB. If they are moving from A to B, so final point is B, initial point is A, so potential energy is final potential energy minus initial potential energy. So that is minus I V delta T. This is what the negative potential energy is available with the charges. But as without a collision, these charge carriers are moving, so what will happen? They lose their potential energy and start to get the kinetic energy. So they don't have other energies available right now. Collision is not there. No another force is given to them. It means whatever the potential energy is there, they lose it and start to get the kinetic energy. So this is what the conservation of the energy is there. And this is nothing but delta K, which is opposite to potential, minus delta U potential, and that is a positive IV delta T. Means whatever the amount of potential energy available with the charges, the same energy is converted into the kinetic energy, and that is obviously equal and opposite. So now the charges were moving freely through the conductor under the action of external field. Now if we are providing external field, so their kinetic energy now increases. So charge carries do not move with the acceleration, but they are moving with drift velocity, because as external field is available, difference in their speed. Initially they have acceleration, then normal speed, then again acceleration and normal speed. So what we are going to study, their average drift velocity. And now as the constant electric field is available, they have the steady drift velocity is available. Now because now they are collide with the ions, so that speed difference is available. So during the collision, the energy gained by the charges is shared by the atom during the collision. The atoms vibrate and the conductor gets heated. Thus, in actual conductor, an amount of energy is dissipated by the heat. What will happen? As the external field is available, electrons start to collide with the atoms. So now they have the drift velocity. Now, while these electrons collide with the atoms, they start to get vibrate. They get vibration, and due to the vibration, they get some heat. And due to that heat is nothing but the loss of energy. It means energy is going to be dissipated in terms of heat in the conductor. So this heat is available during the time interval delta t is delta W into IV delta t. So this amount of energy is going to be dissipated. So this energy is dissipated per unit time. So delta W by delta T, which is known as a power dissipation. Right? And we have already power law, P equals to IV, and Ohm's law, V equals to IR. Right? So in P equals to IV, apply the Ohm's law. So two different equations are there. If we replace V, so I square R, and if we replace I, then V square by R. So this is what, by using the Ohm's law, we can define the power loss in a conductor in terms of the resistance while that conductor carrying a current I. It is this power which heats up, for example, coil of the electric bulb to incandescence, radiating out heat and radiates the light. Now, from where this power is generated? To generate this power, actually we need an external source, external supply, to keep that steady current throughout the conductor. Now for that we need to supply that amount of power. We have the simple circuit of the cell in which the chemical energy is available, chemical energy of the cell which supplies the power. So here electrolyte is available which having two types of charge carriers, positive and negative. So based on that, two different electrodes are there, positive electrode and negative electrode. Positive electrode is known as anode, negative electrode is known as a cathode, which is connected with the resistor. So one simple series circuit is available with the external source to the resistance R. So whatever the power is generated from the cell, in the series of it the resistance R is connected, current is passing through the R, and the power dissipation is available from that resistance in terms of I square R or V square by R. Right? Now, how this power dissipation is available for, or to understand the power transmission? For example, electric power is transmitted from power supply to our home or factory or our school, anywhere. In between the power station and our home, the distance is very larger, hundreds of miles away. So what will happen? As the distance increases, power loss is obviously higher. But we want to minimize that power loss, power dissipation. So what we need to do? To minimize that power loss in the transmission cable, because at transmission cable is the cable which transmits the power. At one end the power station is there, at another end our house is there, our home is there. So power station generate the power from the transmission cable, it transmit the power at the end of our home. So what will happen? That transmission cable carry the power with at the distance is larger, longer transmission cable is there, power loss can be higher, we need to minimize it. So what will happen? Whatever the power is delivered from power station to the power cable, so that cable resistance is dissipated finally. V is the voltage across the R, and I is current passing through that cable. P equals to V into I. And through the transmission cable connecting wire from power station to the device, we have the resistance RC, and accordingly the power dissipation is PC, I square RC, and I square P equals to I into V. So can we replace it I with P by V? So I square equals to P square by V square. So PC, the power loss due to that connecting wire, is P square, which is the power generated through the power station, into the RC square, that is a cable resistance, divided by V square, the voltage source we have connected. So to drive a device of power P, the power wasted is in connecting wires is inversely proportional to V square. Power loss in connecting wires is inversely proportional to V square, and this V is voltage we have connected as an external source. So we can say that to reduce the loss through the transmission cable, we need to provide a higher voltage. If voltage is higher, power loss is less, and that's why that supply voltage from the power station is very much high. This power need to carry through the transmission line, and that's why always it shows a danger sign around whenever the transmission line is available in populated area. So using electricity as such, voltage is not safe at the higher value. So at the another end, at our home, which is what through the transmission line, higher energy, higher voltage is carried out, and at our home that much higher energy is not required. So what we are using? Transformer. That transformer down. It means input is higher of the transformer, but output of the transformer is low. So there is two types of transformer, up and down. We are using down transformer, which reduce the voltage by the suitable value which we can use at our home. Clear? We are going to end our session. Hope you understood.